You know, in the grand story of ancient Egypt, there's a name that was literally chiseled out of stone, her statues smashed to bits, and her entire legacy buried for more than 3,000 years. Today, we're digging into the incredible story of Hatshepsut, who wasn't just any pharaoh, she was one of the most powerful and successful rulers in Egyptian history. And we're going to look at the massive effort it took to try and erase her.
I mean, really think about that. How do you actually erase a pharaoh from history? It's not just about, forgetting someone. We're talking about a systematic campaign of destruction, a deliberate attempt to rewrite the past, to make it seem like a ruler who was on the throne for over 2 decades just never even existed. So what did that actually look like on the ground?
Okay, so look at this. On the left, you see how these monuments were supposed to look, proud images of a strong, confident ruler. But on the right, well, that's the reality archaeologists discovered. Faces literally hacked away, royal names painstakingly scraped right off the stone. This was not random vandalism. No way. This was a targeted political hit. Someone clearly wanted Hatshepsut gone. But who was she, and what could she have possibly done to provoke this kind of reaction?
To solve the mystery of why she was erased, we've got to go back to the beginning and figure out who she was. Her story isn't just about her time as pharaoh. It's about her absolutely unprecedented climb to the most powerful job in the entire ancient world. Hatshepsut was pure royalty right from the start. She was the daughter of the pharaoh Thutmose I, so she had a direct line to the throne. She did what was expected, married her half-brother to keep the dynasty secure. And when he died, she stepped into the traditional role for a queen. She became regent, ruling for her stepson, Thutmose III, who was just a kid. A pretty standard path for a royal woman. But Hatshepsut had much, much bigger plans.
Yeah, she didn't stay just the regent for long. Over just a few years, she masterfully elevated her own status. First, she went from a temporary caretaker to a co-ruler. And then, she took the final revolutionary step. She declared herself the true living pharaoh of Egypt, taking on the full power of kingship. This was completely against tradition. So the question is, how on earth did she pull it off?
This is where things get really clever. Her public relations game was absolutely fascinating. She knew that visually, kingship was a male role. So, in all the statues and carvings, she adopted the symbols of a male pharaoh, the headdress, the ceremonial false beard, even a masculine physique. But here's the twist. She didn't hide her gender. In the hieroglyphs right next to those images, the language often uses feminine pronouns. It was a brilliant move. Visually, she was the king that Egypt expected, but the text made it clear she was a woman chosen by the gods.
So, was this radical power grab worth it? Did she actually live up to the title of pharaoh? Oh yeah, the historical evidence is just overwhelming. She didn't just rule, she kicked off one of Egypt's most peaceful and prosperous eras.
See, unlike so many other pharaohs who are remembered for their military conquests, Hatshepsut's legacy was totally different. She focused inward, on beefing up Egypt's economy, getting trade routes going again, and creating some of the most amazing architectural wonders the world had ever seen. Her focus was on building, not battling.
Okay, check this out. One of her most famous achievements was this huge trade expedition to the far-off land of Punt. Can you just imagine the ships coming back loaded down with exotic treasures Egypt hadn't seen in these quantities before? We're talking precious myrrh and incense for the temples, ebony and ivory for the craftsmen, and just piles of gold. This trip wasn't just about getting rich. It was a huge statement about Egypt's power and influence under her rule. And this right here, this really sums up her whole philosophy. Hatshepsut proved that a ruler's greatness could be measured by stability and cultural achievement, not just by how much land you conquered. That was a pretty radical idea back then, and honestly, it's still a powerful one today.
And of all the incredible things she built, nothing, and I mean nothing, tops this. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri is an absolute masterpiece of architecture. It's carved right into the side of these cliffs, with these stunning terraces that look like they're growing right out of the mountain. It was a monument to the gods, sure, but it was also a monument to the absolute grandeur and brilliance of her own reign.
Which brings us right back to our central mystery. Here we have a pharaoh who brought peace, incredible wealth, and architectural glory to Egypt. So why in the world would anyone want to wipe her from the history books? Well, the attack on her legacy started right after she died, when her stepson, Thutmose III, finally got the throne all to himself.
Historians have been debating this for ages, and there are basically 3 main theories. First, was it personal? Maybe Thutmose III was just bitter after waiting in the wings for 20 years.
Or was it cold, hard politics, a calculated move to erase the uncomfortable precedent of a female pharaoh and restore the traditional all-male line of succession? Or maybe, just maybe, it was about preventing the future, making sure no other woman would ever get the same idea. Whatever the motive, it's a pretty stark reminder that history isn't just what happened, it's what powerful people decide we should remember.
And you know what? For almost 3,000 years, that plan to erase her, it pretty much worked. She became a historical footnote, a confusing name in the long list of pharaohs. But history, just like her amazing monuments, has a way of holding on to its secrets, just waiting for someone to uncover them.
Just look at this timeline for a second. The sheer amount of time we're talking about is mind-boggling. The eraser starts right after she dies, around 1458 BCE. It isn't until the early 1900s that archaeologists even begin to piece her story together from the ruins of her temple. And it took all the way until 2007 for modern science to definitively identify her mummy, finally giving a face to the name that was so violently scratched out of history.
In the end, despite the full-scale campaign to destroy her memory, her legacy turned out to be more durable than stone. Today, Hatshepsut is recognized not as some kind of usurper, but as a true visionary leader, a brilliant politician, an ambitious builder, and without a doubt one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Her story is just an amazing testament to resilience.
So ultimately, we're left with this thought. If a ruler as powerful and as successful as Hatshepsut could be so nearly and completely wiped from the record, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible figures and amazing stories have been lost, buried, or just deliberately hidden, and are still out there waiting to be rediscovered?